Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. Yes, Celtic finally got that win away to Hibernian last night and it was a fantastic result for Celtic. It does mean that we're still top of the league and it was an interesting game. It was an interesting game. Chris Boyd goes into his usual meltdown. But I did say before the game last night, I said, when you look back at history at Celtic, when you look back even to the Ronnie Dyler years, Ronnie Dyler winning away up at Aberdeen in a midweek away game. And then Brendan Rodgers also did the same at Aberdeen. That was pivotal in his success on the run to the league. And then when you look at Ange Postecoglou, his late win away to Ross County. We weren't playing particularly well that night in Ross County until Tony Ralston comes up with a goal in the 97th minute. It is always a turning point of the season, and I did say that before the live last night, and I thought this last night would maybe go in a similar way. I did think it would be a turning point. I did think Adam Ida would score. A couple of people had him down for scoring 2 goals, and then they had a couple of our wingers scoring goals. That didn't transpire to come into effect, but what did happen was Celtic got the 3 points, and that's all that matters. And then in walks Chris Boyd and his meltdowns. Chris Boyd said Celtic got away with it. It was daylight robbery. Brendan Rodgers' side left the late, snatched all 3 points as Adam Ida converted 2 penalties. Yes, he converted the 2 penalties. And were they penalties? Chris Boyd said they weren't penalties. And he had a bit of a meltdown. The late winner from the on-loan Norwich attacker had wild celebrations. And if you haven't seen the wild celebrations behind the goals, make sure that you check out this video up here and make sure or wait till the end of the video and I'll put a link up to that, the Adam Ida fans' reaction to the penalty as he took that. That was sent to from a mate. And saying on Sky Sports last night, any game that you want to get 3 points, but there's no mistake, Celtic got away with one tonight. There's no doubt about that. He has come up and a lot of people were asking questions of him. He's came up and scored 2 massive penalties. And then he did say credit to him. And he did say live on here last night, he said credit to him. It was the pressure to score those penalties must have been immense considering Louis Palmer missed 2 penalties, which would have made things a lot easier in the league. Louis Palmer was dropped to the bench last night. I thought that was probably the right thing to do. But then Nico Kuhn came on and played from the start. And he was pretty much ineffective. People saying Matt O'Reilly was ineffective. Matt O'Reilly was getting man-marked out of the game last night, as was Callum McGregor to a certain extent. They were getting man-marked, which makes it difficult. And I did say on the live before the game, the one thing that I thought may cause a bit of issue is the fact that we didn't have anyone in the midfield to bring on. We had Ohm and that was it. If you want to try and change things up, which you need to do tactically sometimes when players are getting man-marked. You know, if they're getting man-marked, the guy's going to follow them all about the pitch. And that's what happened to Matt O'Reilly last night. And players will say, people were saying, oh, where was Matt O'Reilly? Where was Matt O'Reilly? Well, if there's a player standing right next to him, you know, you're not going to pass the ball to him because there's a 50-50 chance he's going to lose the ball or he might not even get the ball in the first place. Anyway, Chris Boyd on the second penalty where Jonio collided with Kyogo at right on the line of the box, and it was in the box. It was definitely a penalty. Chris Boyd said that it wasn't a penalty. He said it was outside the box, and he said it shouldn't even have went to VAR. It should have just been a free kick. I can understand the referee maybe misses it, but when he sees it again, he's got to give the penalty, says James McFadden, and James McFadden was sporting a cracking haircut last night. Big up the Baldies, but he's obviously been for another hair transplant. Lightweight. Anyway, we move on from that. Tell me what you think about the goals last night. Tell me what you think about the video that is about to be shown at the end. And Big Chris Sutton has been arguing that how people, mostly bears, are arguing about the award of this penalty. Both penalties were correct tonight, says Chris Sutton on Twitter. They just don't give up, do they? They don't give up at all. Now, before we all get too excited about that 3 points last night, let's hit the reality button now. Let's hit the reality button and really how good were Celtic. On another day, a really good team would have put about 3 or 4 goals past Celtic yesterday. There was a lot to be said about dropping Big Rocky for the bench. A lot of people said before the game even started, how long will it take until Welsh gets injured? And Welsh did get injured. He comes and pulls his hamstring. Alistair Johnson, you can never factor into for that one. But surely, to Christ, the manager knows. I mean, was it for the fact that he got left? Well, he got absolutely ruined up in Aberdeen by the goal in Aberdeen. But he changed the team far too much for me. He changed the team. We all asked for the one and only Dyson Media to get brought back into the pitch. He's a lot better than Lewis Palmer, everyone's saying. And then you've got to remember and then you suddenly remember why we wanted Dyson taken off the pitch, because his final ball, and Brendan Rodgers has said this since the start of the season, the ball in the final third. The ball in the final third is absolutely ridiculous, and it was no better last night. There was one chance where you thought Adam Ida was going to get another goal. You thought Kyogo was maybe get on it, but where the two of them getting in each other's way in the middle of that box, it's hard when strikers haven't played on the pitch with each other. Kyogo's used to playing through the middle himself, and I think that's something that Celtic need to work on. Personally, I have said for a couple of weeks now, I'd like to see Brendan Rodgers change tactics and change the team formation to a 3-5-2. I think that's all that's really needed in Scotland. I mean, you could have went with Rocky Scales and our Canadian Alistair Johnston at the back quite easily last night. And then flooded out that midfield, and then having two strikers in the box. It's the one and only way to do it in Scottish football. You've got to admit, Hibs didn't play the low block last night. They did try to play a bit higher up the park, and we couldn't get past them. Which was a bit indifferent. But then that all comes down to the fact that they were man marking our players. And let's face it, last night, the relief on the manager's face kind of said it all, and the relief on the face of all the fans. When you look at it, when Hibs went level, Hibs had the better chances. Hibs had the better chances the second half. We absolutely done absolutely nothing. Like I said, on a good day, Hibs are putting 2 or 3 past us, and we're losing that game. When it got to the end of the game, Brendan Rodgers walked over to the Celtic fans on the pitch, and you could show the relief on his face. And he acted a bit more like what Ronnie Dyler did at away games. I thought he was almost going to do the Ronnie Roar at one point. And that is how much and how important it was. And I did say last night on the live before, and go back and check it. And then I did say that there becomes an away game at this time of the season that becomes important in the title race, and make sure that we are still top of the league. It is 3 points. Sometimes you have to win ugly in football, as simple as that. But then I got a text message right after the game last night, and it basically said, "Are Celtic, have we just delayed the inevitable?" And yes, they will win their game in hand against Ross County next week, and that'll probably put them top of the league. But they still have to play us a few times, and there's still a lot of football to go until the end of the season, about 13 or so games. But anyway, on that note, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up, and make sure that you now watch either one of these 2 videos. This one that shows Adam Ida scoring an absolute cracker, a penalty, and the fans. And then the next one is a shorts video, and that is showing the pyro. Tell me what you feel about that in the comment section of that video, because it's an interesting one. On that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.